Mama, I am sorry that I have disappointed you in this university. No, after everything, you are pregnant. Why? Bad friends force me into this
The
pregnant.
day Amaka left home for university was one of the happiest days of her life, though she didn't fully understand it at the time. Everything felt bright, hopeful, and full of promise. Her parents moved around the house that morning with quiet excitement, making sure nothing was forgotten. Her mother packed extra food she insisted Amaka might need, even though it was more than necessary. Her father checked and rechecked her documents, his face carrying a mixture of pride and responsibility. Amaka herself moved more slowly, taking in every corner of the house. The walls had watched her grow, had heard her prayers, had heard her laughter. Her room still smelled faintly of her perfumes and the pages of her Bible. That morning, she knelt beside her bed one last time before leaving. Her hands clapped slightly, her voice soft but sincere as she commit her journey into God's hands. She truly meant every word. When they finally drove her to school, her father's car cut through the busy road with a sense of purpose. Her mother kept reminding her of who she was, of how she has been raised, of the importance of staying grounded. Her father added his own words about excellence, discipline, and the future that awaits her. By the time they arrived at the university, Amaka carried not just her luggage but their expectation. The campus was alive, students moved in clusters, laughter filled the air, cars drove in and out, music played from different corners. It was bigger than anything she had imagined. For a moment, she felt small in the middle of it all, clutching her bag, unsure of where exactly she fit in this new world. Her parents helped her settle into her hostel, arranging her space neatly, making sure she was comfortable before leaving. Her mother held her hand tightly, looking into her eyes as if trying to implant something deeper than words. Amaka nodded, her heart full, promising herself she would never forget. But the moment her parents drove away, something shifted. The silence they left behind felt different. There was no one watching, no one reminding, no one guiding. For the first time, her life was entirely in her own hands. That evening, as she walked around the campus, trying to familiarize herself with her surroundings, she noticed them, Chiso and Peace. The ladies bent in, they stood out. Everything about them demands attention. Their clothes were expensive, their confidence undeniable, their laughter loud and unfiltered. People noticed them, turned their head as they passed. They carried themselves like they owned not just the space around them, but the entire campus. Amaka couldn't help but look, and then noticed her looking. Chinso was the first to approach her, her smile sharp and knowing. Peace stood beside her, observing quietly but with interest. They asked simple questions at first: her name, her course, where she was from. Amaka answered politely, still slightly reserved, then quickly picked up on her innocence. It amused them. To them, she was different from the usual crowd they associated with. She had a calmness, a softness that felt almost out of place in their world. But instead of pushing her away, they pulled her closer. They told her she would fit in with them, that she didn't have to be so serious, that university was meant to be enjoyed. At first, Amaka didn't fully agree, but she didn't resist either. That was how it started. Their friendship didn't change her overnight. It was gradual, almost unnoticeable at first. They would invite her to hang out, to sit with them during meals, to walk around campus together. Their conversations were different from what she was used to, more carefree, more daring, less restrained. Amaka found herself laughing more, blazing up in ways she hasn't before. The first real shift came one night. They invited her out. She hesitated. The idea of going to a club felt completely foreign to her. She thought about her parents, about her upbringing, about everything she had been taught. For a moment, she almost said no. But then came the persuasion. Then teased her gently, telling her she needed to experience life, that she wouldn't remain child girl forever. They assured her it was just for fun, nothing serious. Eventually, she agreed. That night changed everything. The club was overwhelming, light flashed in different colors, music vibrated through her bodies, people moved without care. At first, she stood close to her friends, unsure of how to behave. Her surroundings felt too loud, too intense. Then a drink was placed in her hands. She stared at it for a moment. Her mind hesitated, reminding her of everything she believes in. But her friends was already drinking, laughing, enjoying themselves. They encouraged her, telling her it was just one drink. She took it. That single moment, small as it seems, marked the beginning of a new path. After that night, it became easier. Going out no longer felt strained. Drinking became normal. The late nights, the laughter, the freedom, it all started to feel good. It filled a space inside her she hadn't known existed. Her routine began to change. She started missing morning prayers. Her Bible remained untouched for days, then weeks. She attended class less frequently, choosing instead to spend time with her friends. The discipline that once defined her slowly faded into the background. But at home, nothing has changed. Her parents still called her regularly, their voice full of love and concern. Each time they asked about her spiritual life, her study, her well-being, she responded with confidence. She told them that she was doing well. She told them she was growing. She told them exactly what they wanted to hear, and they believed her. Meanwhile, her life on campus continued in the opposite directions. She became more like Chisel and Peace. With each passing day, their influence shaped her decision, her behavior, even her appearance. She dressed differently, spoke differently, carries herself differently. People began to notice her, not as the quiet, well-raised girl she has once been, but as someone bold, confident, and untouchable. Together with her friends, she became part of a group that others admire from a distance and avoid up close. They enjoyed the attention. They also enjoyed the power that came with it. Students who were less privileged became easy targets for their mockery. It started as a joke, small comment, subtle insult. Over time, it grew into something hairstyle. They laugh at people's clothes, their accents, their struggles. Amaka, who once would have defended such people, now joined in. At first, there was a slight discomfort in her heart when she acted that way, but she ignored it. Eventually, even that discomfort disappeared. Her conscience grew quieter. Academically, things began to fall apart. A new lecturer was assigned to teach one of their courses. Unlike others, he was strict, disciplined, and completely uninterested in their status or behavior. From the very first class, he made it clear that he would not tolerate distractions. Amaka and her friends didn't take her seriously. They laughed during her lectures, whispered among themselves, sometimes openly challenged his authority. When he warned them, they quiet briefly, only to resume. He sent them out of the class. Days he opened, threatening them with failures. Still, they didn't care. To them, everything would be fixed later, but later became sooner than they expected. When the semester ended and results were released, Amaka sat with her phone in her hands, her heart beating faster than usual. She didn't expect excellent results, but she didn't expect what she saw either. Multiple failed courses, carry-over stakes one after another. For a long moment, she didn't breathe. The reality of it hit her slowly, like a weight pressing down on her chest. All the nights she spent partying, all the classes she skipped, all the warnings she ignored, they had all come together in that one single moment. She felt a deep sense of fear, not just of failure, but of what it meant. Her parents, their expectations, their pride. She broke down. Tears flowed freely as she sat there, unable to process everything at once. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly lost. When her friends found her, they didn't share her fear. Instead, they comforted her in their own way. They told her it wasn't a big deal, that many students had carryovers, that she could fix it easily. They patted her shoulders, wiped her tears casually, almost dismissively. Then they offered a solution. She could fake her result. The result shocked her at first, but as they explained it, as they made it sound simple and harmless, her resistance weakened. They assured her nothing would happen, that her parents wouldn't find out. Slowly she agreed. That decision pushed her further down a path she could no longer control. Her lifestyle became even more reckless. The fear she once had disappeared completely. It was as if crossing that line made every other line easier to cross. Then came the moment that changed everything, the pregnancy. It happened quietly, without warning. At first, she noticed some change in her body. She ignored them. Then came the realizations, the fear, the needs to confirm. When the test showed positive, the world around her seemed to stop. She sat there for a long time, staring at it, her hands shaking, her mind raised with question, with fear, with regret. She wasn't ready for this. She thought about her parents immediately. How would she ever face them? What would they say? What would they think? She felt trapped. That day, she cried more than she had ever cried before. When she finally gathered the courage, she reached for her phone and called Peace. Her voice trembled as she explained everything, every detail, every fear. Peace listened, but her response was quick, almost impatient. To her, the solution was abortions. She told Amaka to get rid of it. She smoked for experience, as if it was something normal, something routine. She tried to convince her that it was the only way forward, the only way to protect her image, her life, her future. Amaka felt uncomfortable. Something inside her resisted. When she called Chinso, she got the same response. No hesitation, no emotional weight, just a solution. About it. But this time, Amaka wouldn't agree. For the first time in a long time, she stood against her friends. And in that moment, she realized something painful. They were not truly there for her. When she refused, their tone changed, their patience disappeared, their support faded one by one. They distanced themselves. That night, Amaka was completely alone. She sat in her room, surrounded by silence, her thoughts louder than ever. She replayed everything in her mind, her journey, her choice, her mistake. She saw clearly how far she had fallen, and for the first time, she turned back to God, not out of routine, but out of desperation. She cried, not just for her situation, but for herself, for the person she has become. That night, she made a decision. She would not run anymore. She would face everything. The next day, she called her mother. It was the hardest call of her life. Her voice broke as she confessed everything: the lies, the lifestyle, the failure, the pregnancy. On the other hand, silence, then pain, then anger. Her parents were devastated. To them, it felt like everything they had built has collapsed. Their disappointment was deep, their reaction harsh. In that moment, they couldn't see past the pain, and so they rejected her. That rejection broke something inside Amaka, but it didn't destroy her. Instead, it forced her into reality. She left school. With nowhere else to go, she struggled to survive. Life became harsh in ways she had never imagined. She faced hunger, loneliness, and situations that pushes her further down. But even in that darkness, one thing remained: her prayer for a second chance. When she finally gave birth, everything changed again. Holding her child in her arms, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: purpose. She named him Emmanuel, and from that moment she decided to keep going. Months later, life led her back to church. Nothing, nothing because she felt worthy, but because she needed hope, and there she found it. Through a message from the pastor she never expected, she learned that her parents had forgiven her. They have been searching for her. That moment marked the beginning of her restoration. When she finally returned home, it wasn't easy, but it was free. Her parents welcomed her back, not with perfection, but with love. And slowly, she rebuilt her life. Years later, she became a different person, not defined by her past,